There's nothing wrong with YouTube. Do not attempt to refresh the video. I am in control of the uploads. So let's talk some Outer Limits. Today we're going to be checking out the Zanti Misfits, an episode that is largely considered to be one of the best episodes of the original Outer Limits TV show. Directed by Leonard J. Horn, the Zanti Misfits is about a race of aliens known as the Zanti. Unable to do away with their more undesirable citizens, they decide to send them to Earth. So I guess we're just a dumping ground for the universe's garbage. The episode begins in the quaint town of Morgue, California, and the name couldn't be more fitting because it looks completely dead. You almost think it's going to be a Western type setting until you see this car pull around the corner. I had a feeling the studio just had this already set up on one of their lots, so they reused it to save money. We meet Dr. Stephen Grave, a man who looks to be the love child of Leonard Nimoy and Adam Driver, and who was brought in to help with the arrival of the Zanti Misfits. The Zanti are a race of perfectionists, and if you dare step out of line, even a little bit, well, you get sent to the most horrific place imaginable, Earth.
But I wonder why we're allowing this to happen. We weren't given any choice.
The Zanti don't really give us much of a choice in the matter, and have straight up said if we get in the way, it could lead to an attack. Oh, they have emporiums for ladies now. Can I ask why there is a bead curtain doorway for what is supposed to be a military operation? Not very top secret now, is it? Grave is shown to his desk by General Hart, who goes on about how the new wars are fought not on the battlefield, but with computers.
Not quite as messy as the old style, but of course, computers don't bleed.
Yes, computers don't bleed, but can it run Doom? Grave was brought on the team because he's a historian of interplanetary events. He's basically just there to record what happens while everyone else does the real work. Grave is a tad worried of the Zantis because they could have ulterior motives and could look like something from your nightmares. The general tries to calm his fears because the Zantis haven't given any reason for us to be enemies. You know, except for the whole do as we say or else.
According to the history I've studied, friends don't coerce one another.
At least Major Hill gets it. Grave even agrees with him and is ready to pick up a rifle at a moment's notice and fight if he has to.
War with another planet? That's a different brand of war altogether.
Yeah, that's like an interplanetary war, or a star war if you will. I'm on Grave's side though. Rarely have beings from another planet ever been friendly. I would love to know why they made such a pacifist a general though. Major Hill brings up a great point because why are they sending their unwanted here? Could they not build prisons on their own planet? They've perfected interplanetary travel, but building a cell to house their unwanted? Well, that's just too advanced for the Zanti. Also, for whatever reason, the Zantis can't execute their own, so they just ship them elsewhere. But what happens when the Earth becomes overrun with another planet's criminals? Are we just supposed to let them take over? I guess it doesn't matter, because the military has given the Zantis one particular spot where they can land. This area is also surrounded by sentries. If the Zantis don't like the little agreement they've basically thrust on the human race, and they try to land somewhere else, well, in good old American fashion, they're going to be blasted with missiles. The Zantis decide to communicate with the military, but it's just gibberish nonsense. But don't you worry, this massive 1960s computer here is able to perfectly translate a brand new alien language into perfect English.
We are ready to land in designated area.
Alright, maybe it's not perfect, but does it really sound any worse than some of the AI voices TikTokers use? The Zantis seem a little upset because their landing area is surrounded by the military. But if it wasn't, you'd have people just trying to waltz right up to them, which would probably cause an intergalactic situation.
They blend so a landstri of Trinzini.
I don't know what's so funny about the Zantis speaking, gentlemen, but this is no time for laughter. All the Zantis want is some privacy. So long as no one bothers them, then nothing will happen. But if someone does bother them, then they can expect total destruction. The general is like, don't worry, the area is completely surrounded. No one can get in or out. So anyways, a couple drives right through one of the barriers and is now inside where the Zantis will land. So much for that whole no one can get inside spiel. Unfortunately for these two, they have a little engine trouble just as the Zanti's spaceship arrives. Major Hill, who I think is the only one who's taking this whole thing seriously, worries what could happen if the Xanti prisoners were to break free.
The Xanti commander guaranteed maximum control of the prisoners.
Oh, the Xanti said their prisoners would be controlled, so then why not control them on your own planet? Just then, the general is alerted that a car somehow managed to get by their crack security team. Oops, don't mind me, I just need my booze buried in all these fresh 50s and 100s. I don't know what Bruce Dern is doing here with this older woman, but shouldn't he be in space with 3 robots? Lisa here left her husband because he was too much of a bore, too much of a nice guy. But old Ben here, well, he's a bad boy, and she likes bad boys. And I can kinda see why Ben would want to run away with Lisa too, because who doesn't love the smoothie, silky tones of someone who smokes?
I'm going home.
Well, that didn't last long. Lisa might like adventure, but she definitely doesn't like being told what to do. I love how this military operation has both a bank vault door and a bead curtain doorway. Very classy. Major Hill reports about the dead guard and the vehicle that will be a little too close to the Xanti landing area. The general is shitting bricks because now he has to inform the Xantis this car isn't his people, and the Xantis, well, they're not responding back. If these Xantis are in fact criminals, why are they allowed to communicate anyways? Ben notices the ship on the rocks and decides to investigate it. I can't wait to see just how massive this thing is. Oh my god, it's so cute! Just how big are the Xantis then? I don't know what just happened, but the Xantis are these weird little ant things with human-like faces, both hilarious and terrifying at the same time. They kinda remind me of the weird dogs from Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I don't know what the hell happens, but suffice to say, Ben won't be around anymore. With Ben gone, what is Lisa supposed to do all by her lonesome with all this sweet, sweet cash? She turns on the radio, and there just so happens to be a report about the Xanti's UFO. But of course, no one in the government saw it. They just have an entire task force dedicated to it. Someone calls up the general, and I'm just gonna say it's the president, and basically tells him if the Xantis don't communicate in the next 15 minutes, well, we gotta waste those suckers. Lisa pulls the classic go out looking for your dead boyfriend, but even in her panic, she still cannot give up that damn cigarette. Meanwhile, Graves is willing to risk life and limb to go out to the Xantis himself to try and get some communication flowing. Oh no, what happened to Ben? I like how he's curled up like a dead bug. You know, they're kinda cute when they're not murdering people. The general tries telling the Xantis that they're sending Grave to open up some dialogue between both parties, but I'm not sure they're listening at this point. Lisa books it from the Xanti, but how quick are these little buggers? She ran quite the distance, yet he's right on her ass. She seems pretty distressed that a tiny insect is trying to get inside her car. Grave arrives and tries talking some sense into the Xanti, giving them an hour to respond before I guess he'll just leave? The Xanti look how I feel. It doesn't seem to matter how much Lisa runs because the Usain Bolt of Xanti is nipping at her heels. The general calls up Grave to tell him there's a woman on the loose out there and the Xanti have some weird plans for her.
Shall I look around? No.
Nah, let her die. She shouldn't have broken through anyways. The general tells Grave to get back immediately because the prisoners are gonna make a break for it and they're gonna have to nuke it from orbit. I guess based on the size of their ship, a small firecracker would work too. Lisa falls, once again, giving the Xanti plenty of time to catch up to her. If she just walked at a moderate pace, that thing would never catch up to her.
I'm not afraid to die.
You don't have to die, just get up and walk. Luckily, Graves shows up and kills the Xanti by throwing a moderately sized rock at it. If you can kill these things with small rocks, are missiles really that necessary? I feel like a war between the Xanti and humans would be pretty one-sided. Lisa rambles on about how she ruined her life and tore her marriage apart for some sweet, sweet Bruce Dern lovin'. And Grave just stares at her like he's observing an animal at the zoo. Grave is about to bring Lisa back to the base when the Xanti ship suddenly takes off. If they're prisoners, why are they given free range to fly wherever they want? You'd figure the other Xantis would make sure their ship was only set up to go one way. Lisa and Grave get back, but the Xanti are heading toward the secret military base. Right through the military beads, ma'am.
It's too close to destruct. We'll all be blown to eternity with it.
The ship is too close to the base, so missiles are out of the question. Hey, does anyone have any medium-sized rocks? They're in trouble now because the Zanti are on their roof and they are pissed. Major Hill is done sitting around, so he goes outside with his rifle to take care of the pests. And he lasts about 5 seconds before he's taken out by the insects from outer space.
Flamethrowers ought to do it. Hand grenades, anything.
You know what, Grave? I like the cut of your jib. Luckily for Grave, they just so happen to have flamethrowers and grenades out back, but how will they avoid the Zanti? Major Hill comes back inside with one on him, but other than that, he seems perfectly fine. The Zanti are starting to get inside, which scares one of the soldiers. Holy shit, he just blasted that thing right in its face. These guys are not holding back. Some Zanti just get the butt of a gun, while others get full-on hand grenades. It's insane. This Zanti decides to get a little fresh with this one soldier. They seem to get all of the Zantis, so I don't know what the worry was. Hilariously, the general still thinks the Zanti are going to somehow destroy them. With what? Their tiny ships? Just grab a few cans of Raid and you'll be fine. Here's the kicker though. The Zanti sent their prisoners here knowing we would kill them. They couldn't do it themselves, but they knew the human race couldn't share this planet with another intelligent species. So we'd just take care of their problem for them, and they were right. The Zantis were never going to war with us, but they knew we loved firing large weapons at very small creatures.
You are practiced executioners.
Hell yeah, we are. I've never actually watched an episode of the original Outer Limits TV show, but I have seen the face of the Zantis many times and thought this would be a good place to start. The Zanti are hilarious looking, but I can see how they would look scary back in the day. The humanoid grin they have on their face is really weird. I also like that for the most part they're done with stop motion animation, which is really time consuming and costly to do, especially for a show during the 1960s. But the herky-jerky motion only adds to their bizarre nature. The Zanti really are the reason to watch. The actors all do a good job for what they're given, and it's nice to see Bruce Dern years before he would play Tom Hanks' paranoid neighbor in the cult classic The Burbs. Sadly, I think he's the only surviving member of the cast. Michael Tolan, who played Grave, Olive Deering, who played Lisa, Robert F. Simon, who played the General, and Claude Woolman, who played Major Hill, all passed on relatively early. But they all do a good job, though I wouldn't say anyone really stands out. The massacre at the end is the highlight of the episode and had me laughing my ass off. I don't know why, but seeing these soldiers shoot tiny insects point blank was hilarious. Although I'm disappointed we never got that flamethrower. All in all, some old school sci-fi fun, and one that I can definitely recommend. Anyways, if you've seen the Zanti Misfits, what do you think of it? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today, folks. I hope you're having a great day and stay spooky.